So it would seem that after the high-tension, high-stakes encounter with Shadi in the previous few chapters, Kazuki Takahashi assumed that the readers would need a little bit of a break. Either that or he just didn't have any more ideas for serious story arcs yet. Because this week, we get Digital Pet Duel. Yugi and his friends and a bunch of the other kids in his school have all taken to collecting little Tamagotchi-esque things that are very reminiscent of the original Digimon. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that that's where the inspiration for these things came from. They show them off to each other. We get to meet Yugi's pet, U2, which looks very much like Yugi. It's small and cute and seems very harmless. We also get to meet Jinochi's pet, which isn't as appealing looking. I'm not sure if we ever learn its name, at least if we do, I don't remember if we do. Yugi reveals that the pets can quote-unquote mate, which just means that they go into each other's little Tamagotchi-esque devices and share data, which has the potential to change them for the better in the future. Sort of an evolution system. So Yugi and Jinochi give it a try, and it works after Jinochi's pet roughs Yugi's pet up a little bit. This is when we actually go inside one of the digital pet devices, and we actually learn from U2's perspective that the pets do have some sort of consciousness, which is odd, to say the least, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Immediately after that, one of Yugi's classmates, a kid named Kujirata, shows up. He also has a digital pet, but he claims that his is special. It has a little star on its stomach, and according to him, it lives a lot longer than other pets, and therefore has longer to develop than other pets do. But the most interesting thing about it is that as it comes closer, U2 seems to be afraid. Everyone goes home for the day, and we get to see Kujirata interacting with his pet at home. He notices that it's been eating a lot, and then he hears it speak to him, claiming that it's tired of eating the digital pet food that he keeps feeding it. It even seems to be able to compel him to action, which is also pretty strange. But even stranger still, we see the next day, Jinochi's pet, after being left alone for just a few minutes, is suddenly gone. Pretty much immediately afterwards, we see Kujirata snatch up Anzu's pet, Peachy, connect it with his digital pet, and then we see his pet eat Anzu's pet. It doesn't just want to exchange data, it wants to completely consume other people's pets. And its next target is U2. Kujirata snatches up Yugi's digital pet as well, connects them together, and U2 enters Kujirata's digital pet. He faces off with Kujirata's pet and all seems hopeless until he finishes processing the data that he got from Jinochi's pet the day before, and he evolves into something less akin to the little Yugi and more akin to the other Yugi, defeating Kujirata's pet with one punch. Kujirata's pet is now destroyed, and Kujirata seems visibly different, as if he has been released from some sort of mind control. And then later that night, U2's lifespan comes to an end, and he dies. And I'm gonna be entirely straight with you guys. I don't like this chapter at all. Which is weird, because I'm a fan of both Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon. And this is basically Digimon in Yu-Gi-Oh! But all of the concepts here, they're either too generic or they just fall completely flat. The idea of applying something like the Heart of the Cards thing that comes up in the Duel Monsters sections of the manga all the time to something other than Duel Monsters is really interesting. The idea that people's treatment of these pets shapes who they are and that they develop some sort of soul as a result is very interesting, but it's not given enough time to really be explored here. If this had been drawn out for a few more chapters and had really been explored in detail, then I probably would have really enjoyed it. But as it is, the concepts just come off as silly and overblown, and all tension in this chapter just falls completely flat. I don't care what happens to Yugi's pet, because it becomes very clear very quickly with how rushed the pace of the story is that I'm not going to see it come next chapter, so why should I care? Because it seems to have feelings? Well, it only seems to have feelings. It's not really confirmed that it does. Maybe the programming is just that good that it seems like it does. And the whole thing with Kujirata being compelled to act by his pet is completely unexplained and just ridiculous. And I do get the point that U2's story here was supposed to be a retelling of Yugi's story, how after he became friends with Jinochi it set everything else in motion and made him a stronger person. But eventually Kazuki Takahashi is going to have to stop relying on retelling that story. It's not awful. I can certainly read it. And the sprite art on the pets, when we actually see them from the perspective of outside of the digital pet device, is pretty cute and pretty well done. But at the end of the day, I just consider this one kind of a wash. Especially since after the last few chapters, I'm kind of expecting more from this series at this point. Thankfully, next chapter, I should say the next couple of chapters, are much better. In the meantime, though, what did you guys think of this chapter, A Digital Pet Duel? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.